speaker is a woman who has quite literally changed the lives of millions of people around the world, including, quite frankly, my own. And she has done that with a very simple, clear mission: to make tools for mental, emotional, and physical health accessible for all. I am, of course, talking about Adriene Mishler, the host, co-founder, Austin local of Yoga with Adriene, a YouTube channel that offers high-quality, no-cost yoga. She's doing this for free to an online community of more than 13 million subscribers. So how does one of the most influential people in health and fitness maintain her own well-being? We're about to find out. Please welcome Adriene Mishler.
Thank you so much. Thank you for that beautiful intro.
It is such a privilege. You have got lots of fans here, including one right on the stage. So you, of course, do so many incredible speaking events in front of big crowds like this, and I'm wondering if there's a little trick that you could teach us, or a little mantra or breath work that you like to do to kind of set the tone for when you're entering this kind of a conversation.
Oh, I love this, especially as this is like the beginning of South by, and I know many of us here have a plan that we're at least going to try to stick to and then flow from. But you know, the first thing that comes to mind is something that I've done for years, and that was probably passed on to me from my mentors in one way or another, which is this commitment to always starting and ending, so we're at the beginning, but with gratitude. And, but actually doing it, not just like saying, like, yeah, gratitude, sounds good.
I'm grateful.
Yeah, so, but really, I think it's a good way to be in it. And I've been doing this for so long that it has become, you know, I still have to practice, but it has become second nature to always, you know, you get out on stage, or I recently learned in a yoga therapy course that, like, the two biggest fears that people have are public speaking and dying. So it's like,
so we're living the nightmare right now.
We're living it, but I think, yeah, I think I could offer obviously some breath work, or like you said, mantras are really, truly, I believe, very effective. I use them a lot. Some of you might know, have one of my favorite mantras, spine what feels good. All
right,
and
stand up, turn around,
no, just stand up. Okay, yeah, courageous, thank you. And, but I do think starting and ending with gratitude, and this is great when you have meetings, this is great when you're having a hard week, or I think in general, beginnings and endings are so important. And, you know, we often talk about telling a good story, or, you know, living a good story, and you don't always have to know what's going to happen in between, but focus on a clear, kind, grateful beginning like we are now. I'm really grateful for that intro, truly, and grateful to see all of you here. I think that would be like my main go-to.
Well, that's a very grounding word to carry with us as we go through this incredibly jam-packed weekend, to find those moments to just stop and practice that. This is not your first time at South by Southwest. You are an Austin local. You've been here many times. I believe you started working at the festival as a teenager.
I did.
And I'm wondering if you could go back, did that teenage self, did she ever envision that you would be here in a space like this today, when you were, I think you were handing out flyers, you know, inviting people to events?
Oh, yes, yes. I might have started working in and around the festival when I was a preteen. Of course, I was like, thought I was much older at that time. But yeah, thank you. That's a sweet question, because in some ways, I feel like my younger self could have and would have very much envisioned me being in community like we are now, and that I'm really grateful to be in. I don't take it for granted. But on the other hand, if I'm being really honest and transparent, as I try to be and hold myself accountable to be, how could I ever have imagined that I could be in such a big community, like beyond just this room, and for it to actually have meaning, full stop. But I don't know if I could have ever imagined that. Take the channel alone, and I have some beautiful teammates here on the Find What Feels Good team. I don't know if I ever could have imagined what happened with the YouTube channel, or that I would have the great privilege and pleasure of working with a team of really smart, kind people with morals that I really appreciate. So in some ways I'm like, yeah, growing up in Austin and working a million jobs at the festival, I could imagine being in community in a myriad of ways. Guys, I have had some crazy jobs at this festival. Everything from, as you mentioned, handing out flyers for a company called Gobbler. I don't know if they still exist, but it was like a storage, like virtual storage, which at the time I was like, make it make sense. I don't get it. And I'm pretty sure I was hired because I was a young
female.
And so boo to that. I knew it too at the time. I was like, F it, I gotta pay the rent. But also from, walking the red carpet with people like Nicolas Cage or Ty Sheridan, wonderful actors, to opening. I used to volunteer to get a film badge because, of course, I couldn't afford it. I used to volunteer to help host filmmakers and basically host their Q&As and intros and outros of their films in exchange for a film badge. I've worked at the gaming festival. 1 year, thanks to Michelle, who's on my team, I got to open a comedy show with some great comedians. And then, of course, the great honor of leading yoga here at the festival has kind of been the biggest full circle moment. But yeah, I'm really excited to be here and to continue to have the opportunity to see myself in others and hopefully offer that same opportunity in exchange.
You're now at a point in your life where you're facing a number of big milestones. You've had 2 just in the past year. You got married, congratulations.
Did.
And you turned 40, also congratulations.
Yes, I did. I turned 40 last year, and my partner and I got married at the end of 2023, but it does feel like we've been in the newlywed zone.
Oh, well, that's where you want to stay for as
Yeah.
long as possible. When you're facing big transitions like that, what's key to navigating them for you all, keeping from getting overwhelmed? How did you face those kinds of moments?
Yeah, well, the truth is actually, it was a hard year. That transition was hard. It was bumpy. It was like clunky and chonky, and like I needed more items of comfort in a myriad of ways. Looking back, I didn't know it at the time, but I'm like looking back at the transition of choosing to get married. My partner and I wanted to create a big gathering because we dated in the pandemic, and you guys don't want to hear about this stuff, but so while there was a lot of intention around that, okay, so we met. Oh. He'd kill me. He'd be like, I value my privacy, and I honor it. I honor that, and I love that about my partner. But yeah, the truth is, and this could be applicable, is like, there were so many wonderful things happening that I knew I was like so blessed, and I got it, again, capital letters, privileged to be able to create even the type of gathering of friends and family for our love party. Ooh. Called it a love party. But looking back, I'm like, I am just now coming back to life from that, And I never wanted to admit that because it kind of it made me feel like weak, lacking a groundedness, and then also I kicked this thing off with gratitude. It's like, I didn't want to seem ungrateful. But that was a really hard year, like getting married, moving houses, that whole transition. I look back in pictures of myself, I'm going to be really honest, and I'm like, she's stressed. Like, she's hurting a little.
Was that a new experience for you?
It's fresh, and that's a great question, because had I not recently experienced a version of that, probably wouldn't have been able to identify it. But I think perhaps the point is it's helpful for us all to remember, no matter how we identify or what stage we are in life, that messy middle is just, it's good, you know? It's how we grow. It's how we even get to have somebody ask you about those milestones. Like, I don't know. I think, to answer your question, I think being kind to yourself is absolutely the most important thing. I got strep the week before my wedding and had to cancel all like my beauty appointments.
Oh,
I was so sad, you know, because I like, you know, you want to get some zhuzh and you want to feel good. But it was like I was doing too much, and I wasn't really being that kind to myself, that I didn't even make it to my beauty appointments because, like, right, the universe was like, no, you need to slow down.
Yeah.
So it's an ongoing theme, I think, for a lot of us these days.
And do you feel like you've taken those lessons, and are you slowing down, or how has that changed how you're living day to day now?
Well, you know, I really appreciate you. We've had a couple brief conversations just about how, as we evolve and as we get older, we have these really rich opportunities. They're just like on a silver platter sometimes. Like, do you want it? Are you ready? Or no, not yet? Okay. And I think that I've had a lot of opportunities to slow down and change, but I didn't know how. Like, I didn't have the practice. I didn't have the vocabulary. I didn't want to let anyone down. Maybe I didn't have that as a role model. You know, my mom is incredible. Some of you have met her. PhD, big thinker, big heart, really educated and just really magnificent, creative. But she also is a Mexican-American woman who moved to Texas, didn't know anyone in the 80s, and had to really work and push her way through to being seen. First by herself, that was, you know, that's hard enough, and then by others. So yeah, I don't really know if I've had a lot of role models. So obviously I can only hope that, you know, I was sharing with a friend, I'm so honored to be on this panel, but also I always feel a little awkward when I don't have something really specific to talk about, and it's just like, gonna share my story, and I'm always like, oh, yeah.
Is it strange to admit that as a yoga teacher and as someone who people literally around the world rely on to help with their own well-being, how does it feel to admit that you don't always have it all together?
Yeah, it sucks. Sometimes it really sucks. Not because I don't know, because I know everyone here is wise, you know, like I get a lot of my deep wisdom from my interactions with our community. Virtually, too. Like, I feel like for the longest time in the yoga community, it was like, well, virtual yoga, and I'm like, no, I have experienced it, I've seen it, I see it every single day, as does our team, you know, like, it's real connection, that's real soil for actual growth. But it still kind of sucks, you know, to be like, oh yeah, I'm falling short or so I think the more that I do share, which is why I am honored very much to share my story here, is the more I share, the more I realize that that's actually a more important and bigger opening to us becoming more connected. And I genuinely feel like that connection is gonna see us through.
What has been the response from the community to you talking so openly about your struggles?
It's been really positive, and it's, I think for all of us, there's a feeling of being exposed that doesn't always feel super safe. And I think through my studies in yoga, and when I say yoga, I'm sure we all know this, but I'm not talking about the poses. You know, I'm talking about self-study and like the entire tree of yoga, not just the branch of asana, but I think through that constant study of yoga, I'm realizing that like safety and belonging go hand in hand. And so I just need to learn to feel safe, being more exposed. And I can only hope that I see that when I do that in our community, that's when I actually feel like people engage more on a real level, like on a truthful you guys know, like on a down-to-earth level, and that always feels really inspiring.
Well, if you're a fan of Adriene's, you know that she is hardly ever anywhere without her beloved dog, Benji.
Yeah.
And I would love for you to share, well, how about this? Do a 30-second PSA for why everyone needs a dog for their mental health. How has Benji helped you?
Oh my God, that's so good. Okay, 30 seconds is, well, first of all, if you're not a dog person, I'm not gonna push that on you, but we'll just use this as like a metaphor. I guess I feel like, all jokes aside, because I really didn't want to become that girl and her dog, but then Benji just became so beloved. I'm like, who am I to take this away from people? Like, the world's tough. Let's find what feels good. So I would say that let yourself be pulled to those relationships where you get to practice unconditional love, because it is a practice, because we all have our inherent biases, we all have our shit. And I know it sounds so cheesy, but since you asked, I do think that my relationship with Benji is just like this constant fertile ground for me to practice being soft, being sweet, practicing being loving unconditionally. It sounds so cheesy. Oh my God, it's gonna be all over the internet now. But I think it's true. It's like, let ourselves be pulled to those places where we get to foster that. Maybe it's an inner circle. Maybe it's a little text thread with a couple people. Or maybe it's a faithful dog.
And he is a good one.
He's super cute.
All right, last question. Now that you are officially a woman in midlife, welcome to the club.
Thank you.
How do you see yourself evolving during this next phase? What do you hope your life looks like a year, 3 years from now as you move through this next transition?
Well, thank you. And thank you for the work that you're doing with Flow Space, because if you guys don't already know, Flow Space is really working their asses off to provide a wonderful space for women 35 and up, right? Mm-hmm. And I think it's not just for the women, though. I think it's for the women and beyond to kind of get the opportunity to engage in conversations with more midlife women. I'm just really grateful for that. Sorry, I use my time saying that, but I will just say I'm excited to keep learning, whether that's from people like my CFO who's here today, when I'm at the office, or I mentioned to you backstage, I've been doing this yoga therapy program, which is allowing me to take my passion for yoga and actually work more with people in different fields to help bring these types of healing practices up into our healthcare system. So I'll still stay in alignment with what I know yoga, but I get to work more one-on-one with different practitioners, like psychotherapists, physical therapists, even medical doctors. So I'm thrilled about that. And then since we're both Latina up here, I'll just say learning Spanish is a big focus for me. It's not just like a box I want to check anymore. I feel like it's really important for the type of person and the woman I imagine myself becoming. So I keep saying it out loud so you guys can hold me accountable.
Well, you were an inspiration for me to work on my Spanish as well. So thank you for that and for everything that you do. Ladies and gentlemen, Adriene Mishler.
Thank you, guys. Thank you so much. I was honored.